Welcome back everyone to another NRG, back to R-Type, my favourite shoot 'em up, and this time on the Atari ST, conversion by Arc Developments for Activision of course, of the Irem original in 1989, as we've already looked at the original arcade and the Amiga version. This is the ST, interesting green tint there on the intro screen. This is another version that graphically looks very impressive and is quite accurate, certainly in sprite wise and layout, level design, to the original arcade, but it has speed issues as far as I'm concerned. It's probably the slowest running 16-bit version of an R-Type game I've ever seen and played. I'm not sure why they've gone for this sort of like very plodding speed. It's almost like it's being played in slow motion, like 75% of the speed or something, or even 50%, which is a shame. It is to its detriment, because it's graphically very pretty, aside from a few cut corners here and there. It's not as polished as the Amiga version, and even the Amiga version has its faults. It's playable certainly, to a degree, but not overly enjoyable. That speed sort of rips the fun out of it. It doesn't rip the challenge out of it. It's difficult to do that with R-Type, taking any challenge out of it. As you can see, look at the speed of these enemies here, these Bider enemies there. That is very slow. People used to complain about the slowdown on the SNES Super R-Type version, or sort of semi-port of R-Type 2, but the speed here with the slowdown going on and the general pacing is, it doesn't feel R-Type enough for me. Certainly plays like it, and like I said, the music is there. AY rendition of the theme, pretty nice, considering the limitations of the AY. But actually, I quite like the music on this. It's very. Ooh, I completely mushed that up, didn't I? Didn't get me speed right at all. You got to adjust after you're playing like other versions. Even the Game Boy version runs a lot faster than this. We're going to look at the Game Boy version on another video, but it runs a lot faster than this. And we're again, just like the Amiga version, missing the extra weapons, which, you know, it's really strange that they would cut out the extra weapons, because it's kind of, that's the point of R-Type 2. It has this extra weapons, just different level design, different bosses of course, but no extra weapons. And that super beam, that super shot beam is extremely slow when you unleash it. I say, aside from them, that, you know, the speed of it in general, and, you know, I suppose the lackluster sound. I mean, I kind of like it. I am a fan of the AY chip's sound anyway. It's passable, but certainly not the best version at all. But they've done a good job on the graphics. They have done a very good job on the graphics, and all the levels are there. It's just as difficult. I go back on that. I wouldn't say it's just as difficult. I say it might be a tad easier than the Amiga version because of its speed. It's a bit grating sometimes. There's I don't like the graphical cut downs here and there are pretty noticeable as well. Like the texture on the water there is pretty boring. There's a lack of parallax scrolling going on. The background seems to be cut down, limited as well. A few effects are missing as well. There's a few explosion effects are missing. When I get to Dockeratops, the armoured Dockeratops, I always forget what it's called. I've said it in the video before, but you'll see what I mean when it gets there. You destroy it, and it has no explosion effects, no ending, no satisfying ending, which is annoying to the level. I think that goes for nearly all the bosses. In fact, I think maybe the ice crab boss in the second level does blow up. Certainly the mid boss does. I remember that. Then these snake things come out, and the slowdown happens even more. And I don't seem to be able to hit that one, so occasionally the collision detection is also off, which is again a bit of a pity. Obviously with the AY you have the effects clashing with the sound occasionally, but not often. That is something you can get used to. But it's just adjusting to the speed really, that's the main thing about this. Go on, got me ring laser, got me big rings. Let's go, we're getting to the end of the level now, so see how we look. There's a little bit of a stutter there. Sometimes you'll press the button. There you go. See, I'm pressing I was pressed to say that my ring laser there wasn't materialising for some reason. I'm actually firing and my ring laser's not shooting. That happens occasionally as well. Responsiveness is generally okay, movement-wise certainly, but for firing it seems to be a bit hit and miss, a bit off now and then. Here's the rabbit boss, the Donnie Darko. He's dispatched very quickly with a super blast. But everything is all present and correct. Reflective lasers are nicely done. They're pretty good. No flickering, which is great. No sprite flickering, no clashing with the backgrounds or anything like that, which is really good. This is very tight. It reminds me, it's good the fact that it differentiates itself from the original R-Type on the ST, because the original R-Type on the ST seems a bit cramped. It seemed like you didn't have a lot of room to manoeuvre around, and the image seemed a bit stretched as well. It was good to play though. This, it's slower, but you seem to have a little bit more space to move around. Here's the boss. Bit easier than the Amiga version, far easier than the arcade version. There he goes. That's him dead, and everything just freezes, and no explosions, no effects, nothing, no transition into the level complete screen. That's pretty lackluster. You know, the transform into the next loading screen is not too bad. And this is interesting because this is the second level, and they're going for the water there. If I just dip into the water, there doesn't seem to be any effects going on with the water, which is a damn shame because that was something that was always a cool feature. Yeah, there was always a little splash there. There was a little splash there. I take it back. When you go into the water, there's a little splash. I see. Right, yes, yeah. I just thought hovering out on the edge there of the water, and there is effect there. I take that back. There is an effect. It just doesn't seem as pronounced. It's level 2 is even slower. Of course, with the I mean, this happened on the Super Nintendo version. These enemies that sort of like career off into a suicide dive once you hit them, they used to slow the Super Nintendo version down, and I think they do on the Amiga a little bit as well. They flicker the hell on the Game Boy version, but they don't slow down. But on the ST, everything's slow and everything's a little bit too mundane for R-Type. There would be the air-to-ground lasers, which we're not going to get. Here would normally be the split laser, but there's no split laser. That would normally be the split laser in the arcade version, but not present in the ST version. Surrounding effects are okay. Again, so the background just spacescape dull. And it's not really that impressive either. It moves a little bit, but that's it. Look, there's no animation there on the waterfalls. So graphically it's cut down considerably from the Amiga and the arcade, even though from a still it looks quite impressive. It's one of those classic examples of something that in a still image it looks great, but once you play it, it lets you down. It's a bit disappointing. So we're going to go and get to the mid-boss here and see how he is. Them little bleeding inflatable things they're still as annoying as hell. They're the most hated enemy in R-Type. They are, them things. Here they come. They're just endless. Not as frequent on the ST version, thankfully. There you go. See that waterfall looks pretty. It's just a static, drawn image of the waterfall. There's no animation on it. Yeah, not a fan of that. I think I would have thought the ST could have handled a little bit of animation. Nice animation on the pit though. Must admit that's quite nice. Very smooth. Like I say, movement is generally good. Whoa, that geezer nearly thumped into me. Now, how am I supposed to get that reflective laser there? Can I just nip that, or it seems to be embedded in the wall a bit? I'm not going to bother because I've got my full power reflective laser already. So here we go. Over this ridge, there should be the mid-boss. Here he comes, inflatable boy, balloon git. Split into 3 parasites when they hit the top. Then mushroom enemies are coming down as usual. So yeah, everything, all the enemies are. There's a few walking Baidu bots that are missing. I didn't notice that. We mentioned a little bit. Here he is. Impressive sprite, like it always is. Quite big. Again, limited on the animation a bit. Let's see if we can just pop him up on this side. Should be able to. Reflective laser seems packed up. There we go. That was pretty easy, wasn't it? Yeah. And even though that explosion slowed things down to an absolute crawl, there was at least an effect. So yeah, R-Type 2 on the ST is a bit of a disappointment. Graphically, it's actually very pretty, but it's cut down quite a bit. There's a lot of content noticeably missing, and it's got that AY soundtrack, which for some is very good, and it's an admirable effort, certainly. But I think the speed of it, general pacing of the game, lets it down. So there you go, R-Type 2 on the Atari ST. Cheers. See you next time. Novabug out.